You going?
Yeah, check.
Nice. Well, welcome back to the Brown Boy Haircut Podcast, everyone. Today is a very special day. I have my first guest on. And who better to have than Neelaksh Mathur, my good friend.
Hello.
Successful comedian.
Successful is is a stretch.
Is it?
Yeah, I like to call myself aspiring comedian who like a mad genius. How about that? No, I'm kidding.
No.
Um,
You're not far off.
stand up for me, I like to do this analogy that I do stand up like how rich people play golf. Like I am into it, but it doesn't define my career or trajectory in life. So I don't put that pressure on stand up. But yeah, this is also my first audio podcast. It's weird to do it without the pressure of cameras. Yeah, I'm a performer. I'm a sucker for validation.
There are so many firsts with this one, buddy. We're definitely in uncharted waters, but I'm excited, We've been talking about this for a minute. I've been wanting to have Neelaksh on.
Yeah, I've had you on my podcast, twice now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm the only guy that came on twice, right?
Yeah, only one. Only non-comic, yeah.
Yeah. Have any of the comics come on twice, though?
Like, we have recurring comic guests. Like Harman, Gaurav, Vijay.
Yeah,
like the Yuck Boys.
In some part hosts, part of the team.
Yeah, part of the team. But no one outside part of the team has appeared twice.
That's sick, man.
That's you.
I hold a special honor, just like the only boy to live in the girls' dorm when I was a kid in TISP.
That happened?
Yeah, I can add it to the list of accolades. That happened, bro. My mom was headmistress.
So do I address you as he, him, or they, them? I don't know. I don't know where we go with
Just a conventional old he, him, buddy.
he, him.
Yep.
As straight as they come.
Indeed.
Have you ever explored though? Like, does this question ever pop up?
Oh, bro. I have I don't know if you could call this exploration, but I would say that the limit of my exploration was one drunk kiss with this one guy that I was dared to kiss at a party. And it was a peck, and it was obligatory. And there was a girl involved. It was the three of us.
So the three of you kissed?
Not at once. I don't know how that would pan out. But
it'll be like two people on the lips, one on the cheek. That kind of thing.
But whose cheek?
And which cheek?
That's a good... It's asymmetrical, bro. That would bother all of us. There was a girl involved, and we all took turns kissing each other. So I was like, oh, damn, bro. Like, in order to get to the girl kiss, I'm gonna have to, kiss my boy.
Rite of passage.
Yeah, but it's like Kevin Abstract says in that Brockhampton song, bro. I fuck my thugs, that's real love. I'm kidding. It's a joke. What about you?
I've been thinking about it. I've spent most all my life being a straight guy. And with life, you do other things. And you're like, oh, fuck, I never used to do this and I enjoy it. The idea of being with another man is quite, it's repulsive to me. I've not reached a stage where I find it comfortable in whatever setting I am and whatever state of mind I am.
But jokes aside, bro, I will say that I've had some iffy dreams. Some iffy dreams where, during which I've woken up from them and I was like, did I enjoy that in the dream? I don't know what happened. It wasn't a woman.
Okay.
That's happened once or twice.
And do you remember the face of the person?
It's pretty abstract. It's one of those things where certain features are clear in a dream. Over time it just fades. But for sure it was a dude. And then I woke up and I was like, dude, what the hell is going on? I feel like Freud might have been onto something. Have I been hiding something? Am I repressing things? I don't know.
I think just being aware of Freud fucks you up.
That's so true.
Sorry, can I curse on this podcast?
Of course.
Okay.
In the barbershop, all is allowed.
Okay, I'm digressing a bit. Why this name, Brown Boy Haircut?
It was so random, man. I don't know if there was very much thought involved. I saw this picture. I think it started with the picture because there's this one, the picture on the podcast and all the, on Spotify and YouTube and everywhere. And Amazon is a picture of me getting a haircut in Bandra. And it was this unexpectedly decent looking picture, just a nice candid of me getting a cut in Bandra that my boy Renan took. So When I saw that, I was like, yeah, brown boy haircut. Let's go. You know?
That's the creative process of a genius, ladies and gentlemen.
So
For those listening.
most of the random ideas I think are like somewhat like hogwash, you know? But every now and then a nugget of something just catchy or interesting or an aesthetic will just fall in my head. And I've gotten into the habit of just putting it into a note. So that if I want to use it for something like that's kind of ambiguous where it doesn't require like a literal name, I can just chuck that on there. I have a list of song names on my phone, like cool song names that I might use.
But like I think most ideas get lost when you start thinking of execution then and there, or when you start thinking of the logistical hassle of it.
Yeah.
And it's so difficult to explain why an idea is good in comparison to the other, right? Like that's what differentiates artists from artists, that everyone has their own different sensibilities.
Exactly.
So I think that really helps, just noting random shit down without judging it in the moment. Whatever catches your interest, write it down. Whenever you are in the mood to flesh some ideas out, go back to it.
100%. And the thing is, like, even there's some like checks and measures in my head about these names and stuff like that. Would it be cool on like a hoodie at some point? You know, just as a possibility. There's just little casual things you can put.
You're quite entrepreneurial in your aspirations. Are hoodies something you would want to do at some point of time? Is that the merch you're thinking about?
I definitely want to do merch, bro. Like a huge inspiration in terms of like how to build a brand or an empire around entertainment is like how the TMG guys have done it, you know? Noel Miller and like Cody Codes. Sick, because they have the core product, which is like them being funny and being on podcasts, and Noel does shows and stuff. They've been doing that for like 5 years. You look at the podcast from back then, and like they admit to being like between like no job. They're just jumping into this headlong. Noel wasn't making any money and stuff. And like starting with the merch early allows it to become a fixture over time. So it's like I had kept thinking like you need to be massive before you can make something of value. But if the merch is cool enough to just be like nice clothes, even if I am small scale, it's just a good direction to take, because over time people will just be like, oh, cool, a brown boy haircut hoodie, you know?
Oh,
get Bedfords.
These like little Easter eggs to an upcoming merch line, maybe.
Maybe.
Just the people who stick up to maybe the 6th or 7th minute of the podcast. Some little bombs for them.
Oh yeah, bro. This is the secret info. Just like when we were talking about the cologne on yours and everything.
Yeah.
If people are like, if they're like two uber nerds who happen to be like,
who follow this whole universe like of little artists who are trying to make it in Bangalore. If there's someone like that out there,
they'll know about it. Bro. Yeah. They will know where to put their money before it gets hyped.
Sometimes I wonder, you know, when I was not an artist myself, it was so like cool artists like us were so difficult to discover. Now people who would know us must feel so good about themselves that hey, we're discovering such great art.
You think so? Do you think it's like a boutique thing where it's like if you know the fledgling cool artists where like there's enough belief in what they're doing, where the core product is good enough that people are like, oh yeah, that's cool, but they're not huge yet. Yeah. You think that's a cool thing in these circles?
I don't think it's for everyone, but even when you're really small, there's some sort of perception about you.
That's true.
So perception always plays a role. So if your perception is of someone that hey, he's ahead of his time, or something will happen with him in the future, then definitely, you know, all these bourgeoisie people feel cool discovering them and hanging around them.
Yeah.
I hate this about rich people, you know, they just try to associate with art to humble themselves. That hey,
humble themselves.
Yeah, I think rich people associate with art to show others that hey, we know what's happening on the streets. We are also just like the masses.
We're like in tune. We know what's up.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it's a humility thing though? I feel like with music, it's often like a flex thing. It's like the opposite of humility. It's like, I have all this money and I have cool friends, which proves that I have cool taste.
I think in hip hop maybe. But overall, like, I don't know, overall, when across history, like whenever the royal kings and queens and now the Ambanis, whenever they try to associate with artists, it comes across so dishonest to me. Like even with the whole Nita Mukesh Ambani Culture Center, did you see that?
It's pretty damn performative. I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
Speaking of performative association, right? Okay, like who am I? Just That's Mr. Bedford. Who am I to comment on such a thing?
Of course, who are, I mean, obviously for the listeners, again, till the 8th minute mark, this is, like we should do these announcements, like 8th minute, 10th, 12th minute.
You've made it to the 12th.
You've made it to the 12th.
You get a free hoodie.
Oh, you're making commitments already.
You get a silhouette of my face on your left breast. How exciting. No one says breast anymore. That was odd.
Breast.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Sorry, you were saying? About the usage and connotation of the word breast?
No, I was talking about the performative aspect of it all, and I was talking about like kings and queens trying to associate with artists, and now the Ambanis trying to do it. It just, whenever they're around artists as well, like that demeaning thing or looking down thing doesn't really go away. It just feels like, hey, I have all the money, perform for me, entertain me.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like enabling art in some kind. The best kind of enabling of art happens through artist-led communities is what I've seen.
No, that's true. That's definitely true. And those are just like convenient associations. Because most of the time, it's very rare for even celebrities and like royals to associate with an artist who isn't already in a certain echelon where it's like everyone who sees that will be like, that makes sense. Like, I know Lewis Hamilton is an artist, but like to see a royal, like a member of the royal family in the UK with him, it's not really going to surprise that many people. And like Paul McCartney, I'm sure he's been knighted, hasn't he? Isn't he a sir?
I hope so. I mean,
I'm sure, and it's usually like that, but you wouldn't see them associating with like a Fred again or something like that. You know what I mean? Despite the fame, it's like there's an echelon, there's an association, there's a legacy thing to it as well, or at least as far as I've seen.
Yeah, there was some European country whose prime minister was a woman, quote unquote conventionally hot, sexy woman. Was the prime minister, and her reels started to go viral because every once in a while she would go out partying with her friends, and she's hot also, right? So she'd put up dancing reels and shit. I think some prime ministers like that might be able to associate with Fred again. I hope so.
Yeah, because she shed the facade of like, oh, I don't do anything. I don't go out on the weekends. Like the typical political facade of I don't do anything fun in life. All I do is work. For the betterment and upliftment of society.
that's your act out of
that's what I think they try to build like their image around. But that's really cool. Like, what country is that? I'm curious.
I will have to Google it, and that would be a distraction. But if you've made it to this mark, just Google it and figure it out.
Google it yourself. Hot Prime Minister woman dancing reel. Not strange at all. I did have a few questions, unless there's anything you'd like to touch upon before we get into it.
Let's get into the questions.
Okay.
It's so new for me, like just being a guest on a podcast. I'm used to making the other person feel like the center of the universe. Like that's what a host has to do, right?
Yeah.
But
it's weird being on the other side of the table.
It's just weird because now the pressure of this conversation is off me. It's all on you.
Oh yeah, 100%, bro. And it's like crazy to think about because the tables have turned, and I was on your podcast not even 6 months ago?
Yeah, lesser than that.
That's crazy. Let's see if I can play host. Okay. I feel like, briefly before I get into my very light and easygoing questions, So
is it like a rapid fire thing? Or
No, nothing like that. You can take your time, you can get into it, you can go on tangents, you can digress. That's what the barbershop's about. Okay. So basically, I should provide a little bit of context for how we know each other. For the uninitiated.
I'll be interested in knowing that story as well. It's been so long, I've forgotten the roots of it. I know we met in college, but how did we ever become friends? And
it's an interesting thing to explore because it's fairly ambiguous until it gets to the second year mark. But basically, Neelaksh and I met in college. I don't know if we began hanging out in the first year of being in the same class.
I don't think so.
I think I realized you were one of the cool ones. I was like, this dude he's normal. I can talk with this dude. He's cool, I am ashamed to say that there were many people in my class and I was unused to having upwards of 25 people in a class because the school I went to when I was a kid had only 25 people. in the class. When we started, I think it had like 70 or something, and then over time 6 or 7 dropped out. But even that was a baffling number to me. I still don't know at least 12 people's names, and I'm so sorry to those people. I'm sure they don't know my name either, so it's fine.
Yeah, I hope they know my name though. I'm egoistic like that.
All right. I was happy to sit in the corner and quietly fall asleep while I pretended to nod.
Same. Slept a lot.
Oh,
Slept
yeah.
a lot.
We did. We got woken up.
I think my glowing skin is a result of 3 years of happy sleeping through all the hours of college.
Exactly. You were working so hard on your off time that you needed the sleep during class.
Like, it's so... I'm sorry I'm cutting you off.
No.
But, like, I think we bonded because both of us felt like outsiders in that place.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone there was figuring shit out. Both of us knew what we wanted to do and were pursuing... Like, the reason we chose this course was because it's light and we get to do shit outside of college, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
but we felt outside for, like, other than these similarities, I think we felt like outsiders for very different reasons.
Yeah.
Like, in my life, I would have never imagined till I came to Christ that I would ever have a friend who, like, just understands, can speak German and English, but not any other Indian language, and is a musician and all that. Because I grew up in Rajasthan, like, till 10th, 11th standard.
Yeah.
I could not speak English comfortably. Like, it would... I would get anxious every time I have to meet someone who only speaks English. I'm like, oh fuck, no, how will I articulate myself? But then I felt like an outsider there because for me it was the first time I was amongst people who are all privileged, right? Everyone had money, right? Everyone was born and brought up in metro cities and above. So socioeconomically they knew more than me. So I was...
Did they?
Yeah, I mean, it felt like at that point of time. I mean, you always start with a place of insecurity, right? I don't know how you function. My, like, first reaction to something is, oh, I must be the lower one in this situation. I'm trying to work on it. And it's not a therapy session, but moving on. I think that's why I felt like an outsider. And then by second year, I realized that, oh, no one has a clue. At least I know what I want to do. And this guy seems like he also knows it. Totally different.
No. I will be honest. I completely related to the fact that you were enthusiastic about something artistic, something creative, because I felt like I was in a place where not that many people got that. We were doing the course because we were like, okay, we can balance it with things. We came into college with jobs. Like, I know you came into a job.
Yeah.
So did I. I was already doing marketing on the side of the company, and I would frequently get into trouble for it.
Yeah.
Shout out.
Likewise.
Shout out Christ College. But just to wrap it up, like, Neelaksh and I met in college, and he was doing comedy, and he'd had a history of comedy already. I had a nascent history of releasing music, although I'd been making it for a long time. He'd also been doing comedy for years, but he had, like, some crazy pictures of him performing in front of, like, thousands of people. So all of us were like, what the hell is going on? Like, how's this dude?
I did one show and got like 3 different cameramen to click one.
Genius. Because we were all intimidated, bro. We were like, this guy's already famous in Rajasthan? When I knew Neelaksh as well, he was one of the few people in class that I really related to with the art thing and everything. But the fact that you speak English the way you do is testament to your intelligence, because I'm not saying this because you're on the podcast. Honestly, I've said this before. I think I might have said this when I was on yours. But I've never gotten the impression that you struggle with this language. You've always seemed articulate. And I don't understand how. Because you say that you began learning it fairly late.
Fairly late. I think comes from deep insecurity. Like, it's either this. See, I love attention, right? That's why I do what I do. I'm very narcissistic. So being in a room and not having the power to command any kind of attention feels too sad to me. You know, like, I would get really sad if that I feel like I don't have the tools to command a room.
I relate to you on that.
I don't know where it comes from. It's the performative side of it.
It's the performative side of creativity. And both of us, the stage is an integral part of what we do as well. So it's like, if you don't have that it factor, like whatever it is that either when you start talking or when you begin playing music, that people pay attention. If you don't have that, it's a significant hurdle. So I know what you mean. It's an important metric.
I think insecurity is the first step of it, and then you slowly start realizing that, oh, if learning a language is opening up your canvas, right? Like when I learn a new language, I understand new ways of forming sentences, I understand new words. As an artist, that just opens up how I can manifest my thoughts. Like there are different ways now. Earlier, I could do it in Hindi only.
Right.
Now, say I do it in English as well. I'm trying to learn other languages. So when you learn other languages, you read other literature, it just exposes you to a completely different side. I would be lying if I said that this curiosities would let me to learn English. It was just deep insecurity. But the way I did it was stand-up. Like I would watch a lot of... By 11th standard, I started watching a lot of stand-up, and India didn't have a lot of stand-up then.
Right.
So I would watch, like Russell Peters is how everyone started, but then Louis C.K., Bill Burr, and Norm Macdonald, Mitch Hedberg, all these people you start discovering. And even there, like I would hear Norm speak in English and then Mitch. Both are such different styles.
Yeah.
And they were comfortable with different dialects of English.
Yeah.
That gave me more confidence.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then if you start, like my first set, I remember I had written completely in English as a comic, because at that point of time I used to literally write it on a Word doc, word by word, and I would say it on stage. And the CBSE schooling system had given this rote learning habit in me, so I only knew how to write on a Google Doc in English. Like I didn't know how to write in English. So I think stand-up really helped in that sense. And then confidence, like I think just speaking any language is just confidence.
It's the best way to know language, right?
Yeah.
By taking cues from like people who do it well and who are able to command the attention of an audience, be funny on command, which is still nuts to me as a concept. And I see what you mean. In the same way, for me to understand how the guitar was supposed to sound when I was a teenager, nothing taught me better. I did theory for years, but nothing taught me better in the moment when I finally was given my electric guitar by my dad. Nothing taught me better than listening to experts do it, see them express, see them command this attention, and then do my best to emulate them.
Copying, like most artists look at copying as a bad thing. I think I've learned all the artistic skills I have, like video editing or whatever little audio editing I know, Photoshop, all comes from, hey, this poster looks so cool, how can I do it on my own? And then I would try to copy that poster pixel by pixel. And then in that process, I know complete Photoshop.
For the first few years, I feel like it's copying, man.
Yeah, you need to.
Yeah, it is. It's for like a long time. For me, I don't think my music began feeling like me until fairly recently. And that was years. Like initially, it was like me doing my best to be like the outdo some dude in the States, you know, who I admired, or like to even sound like
you can name Frank.
you
can call
no,
it's a diss. It's a subtle diss to you, Frank.
My friend, I would never try to outdo that dude. Like, but for a long time, it was me trying my best to emulate it and to sound like them and to achieve a reaction similar to that they had achieved when they'd performed their art publicly, and that informed the way I make art. And now it's gotten to the point where all of a sudden you just break out of it and you're like, okay, I want to have the same level of excellence, but I do not want this to feel like anything that's been made elsewhere or before. Because I think that switch happened right before I did Flash Warning, and I'm curious to know when that happened for you. If you felt like it's happened, where...
It happened when I started drinking a lot, and I went up on stage drunk at a very famous comedian's sold-out comedy festival show, like a very big deal. I'll tell that story in a better way. I started doing stand-up, and then till 2019, I used to take stand-up very seriously. Like I would do 12. You've seen me at that time, 12 spots a week, 13 spots a week. And my aim was to be a full-time comic.
Days, I remember that.
Yeah. I think it came from like being very lonely and associating self-worth with just the output that I have. So for me, stand-up was the only identity I had, and I hadn't gotten the thought that if not stand-up, then what? Like till then, I never used to hang out with college people because I had stand-up to do. I would not hang out with comics because I had stand-up writing jobs to do. So I made no friends or no relationships. So dead beat focus on stand-up. And then in the middle of that, I went through a breakup, which led me to getting into drinking. And that was my way of escaping whatever pain the breakup caused.
Was this second year?
This was after third year, later part of third year.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I think one of those nights, right, I went up on stage really drunk against the will of all my friends. They told me you should. If the show was a very big deal, right, and the whole comedy circuit was there to watch the show. Everyone is there. I go up on stage. I'm so drunk. The first statement I say is, "Hi, my name is Rajasthan and I'm from Neelaksh."
Oh.
That's what I
Oh my gosh.
say on stage. And then
Was there like a chuckle in the room? Or
no,
was it
I don't
dead
remember.
silent?
I don't remember. I remember getting booed off stage, right? And that night, I think I had a breakdown because I used to not cry a lot till that point of time, and then I broke down that night, and I started questioning that, why do I give so much fuck about stand-up? It's just one bad night, and this thing can't define my life, and I just stopped doing stand-up.
You get put through the crucible, and that's when you're like, okay, I can't have this be my identity, because as soon as something goes wrong, I'm screwed.
Yeah. So I really took that to heart, and I was like, okay, I don't want to do stand-up. I think I deserve better. It came from angst like that.
Yeah.
And I just stopped doing it for 2-3 years, and then COVID happened, so that helped. And now when I've restarted stand-up, right, I do it on my own terms, like the analogy I told you, that I'm completely detached from it. My stand-up outcomes don't affect my behavior, my mood at all. I don't depend on it for money.
Yeah.
So I'm doing it purely for the love of doing it. So when I write stand-up, it's honest. I don't try to pander to anyone because there's no career attached to it.
Yeah.
And I only perform when it makes me feel good. So at this point of time, I think for me now, it's more about, okay, I have a lot of thoughts.
Yeah.
My skill is to say them in a funny way. How can I package? Because thoughts are unique. Your thoughts are unique.
Yeah.
Jokes can be replicable. So I want to now try to crack this craft of taking all these random thoughts and making them into something palatable for the audience.
Right. That brings us on to something that I actually wanted to ask you about. Although I do quickly want to touch upon what you said about that one gig. Do you still ever feel haunted by it? Do you ever find yourself like just a moment in which you cringe badly thinking about that night, or have you completely made peace with it?
To be very honest, I used to be a very outgoing comic. Like I would travel to Bombay, Delhi a lot just to experience other cities, so that my stand-up is not just Bangalore stand-up. Since that moment, because I knew the whole circuit was there, I have not hung out with comics other than the close comics that are more my friends than comics.
Right.
That thing, that fear of, oh, people have judged me once a lot, was still in my mind, and I would restrict myself from performing at other rooms, get really uncomfortable, other than the room that I run, yuck. But then other people started telling me stories of how common it is of comics, having a human moment of being drunk and doing something, but then it's about you overcoming that. So now it doesn't haunt me much.
Yeah.
Now I know it was my mistake. I know I know my intentions for practicing the craft.
Yeah.
And that's all matters.
Yeah.
I still don't hang out a lot with comics, but that is for different reasons, not for that night haunting.
Fair. The only reason I asked that is because I have a vested interest in knowing whether or not that still haunts you, because there was this one gig for me personally where I won't name the venue because then it'll be obvious which one it was, but it was maybe around a year ago, and I got on stage pretty intoxicated, and I had done this previously at another gig where it had panned out wonderfully for me. Somehow I just felt uninhibited, but in retrospect I realized that was because of the people there and how much I loved a lot of the people in the audience that opened me up at that first gig. Assumed that I could take this cocktail of intoxication to this other gig where it was a new audience and very few friends whom I couldn't see also. And it caught me off guard, and I will confess to still thinking about that gig and being like, man, how could you be so naive? Your sobriety is the check-in measure by which you can take it on the stage and kill it every time, and that's what it's gotten to now. But anyways, that's the reason I wanted to ask.
Does that still bother you?
Well, if I'm honest, it still occasionally makes me go, ugh. was like for a while after, it was like, I was like, in regret.
It's like one of those moments when you call your class teacher mom.
Oh yeah. Oh no, 100%.
Yeah.
Because everyone else was like, bro, yeah, it was just a bad night. It's okay. Like you're figuring this thing out. Some people can learn everything theoretically. They can read a manual, but with art, it's not like that.
You have
sometimes
to go through it.
You need to burn your fingers to understand what you're not supposed to touch. You know. So it's encouraging. I'm glad you shared that. Brings me on to something else I wanted to ask you about, and that is, when is the 1 hour special coming, if at all? Even if it's a vague sort of idea for the future.
Oh my god. So last year I started tweeting like affirmations. I saw Tyler used to do it and Kendrick used to do it and shit like that. I was like, oh, how cool would it be that I just tweet random shit and 6 years down the line I'm actually doing it and some of the fans pick it up. I sometimes think like that, you know. It's very superficial and narcissistic of to think of it this way, but there's the Shah Rukh Khan story where, you know, his friends tell the story that he was struggling and at the Marine Drive he was standing one evening and he said, one day I will rule this city.
No 15,000 fans trying to grab his ankle.
No, just like struggling, but he said, I will rule this city one day.
Okay.
And now he's the king of Bollywood. And it happened.
That is
I'm like, dude, he could have said like 100 other things, right? Like he could have said, one day I'll be the president. Yeah. Not necessarily everything came true.
Yeah.
One of those. So I think it's about saying a lot of things.
Just in case, right?
Just in case, whatever.
Delete the other tweets. Just put up a bunch of proclamations about the future and one of them.
Yeah, I've put out that, oh, I'll be on moon one day and shit like that.
Nice.
I'm kidding. But I think if a special is happening this year, I've actually started thinking about stand-up again, seriously.
Right.
So now I think it'll take me 1-2 years to just get back in the groove, become the best 15-minute comic in a room. I think that's the first mark. You are into racing, right? So you know F3, F2, F1.
Absolutely.
But similarly, like 15-minute tightest in the country, no one can beat you is the mark. I am nowhere near that. Like I'm never the funniest in the room anymore. I used to be at some point of time.
I don't think that's necessary.
Like if you put me on a lineup with the best comics of India, I am not standing a chance. The best are farther. So okay.
For those of you not understanding why he's trying to clarify, I'm looking at him skeptically right now.
Yeah, he's he's giving me the look of I don't know what. Questioning. But the thought is 1.5 years I'll get back in the groove.
Absolutely,
get to 15-minute mark. I have this vague arc in my mind that I want to talk about. I might do that with my first special. I have a very distinct like visual identity already in place, and I think I also think like musicians in that sense, where I'll come up with an album art first and the name first and all those things.
Yeah.
So I have some sort of a visual identity and tone of the special in my mind. I think I'll only start working on it once I have the best 15 minutes in the country.
I like that. I like that way of thinking where like the aesthetic or elements of it start to emerge and then you're like, okay, I really want to make this into something. That's how your recent show also happened, right? The first one that you've done in a long time.
Yeah. My mom just sent me like a scanned photo of me as a kid. I was like, oh shit, I should use it on a poster.
That was a cool picture, man.
Yeah.
And then you were like, okay, I'm going to use it on a poster. You made the poster, at which point you put like options on your story, like which one is a better poster.
That was just a marketing gimmick, because if I would have just said like, hey, it's a poster, come to my show, people would have ignored it. But then I was like, hey,
that's so clever.
Which one do you like more? And they're like, oh, he cares about our opinion. I ended up using no poster for the show. I sold all the tickets just by doing that poll.
No, I looked at the listing on Insider and it had the picture that everyone picked, including me.
That's how it calling me out.
Bedford.
But I think most interest or the most selling was done on that poll itself. Like then people were just waiting for the link to show up.
Right. No. I know what you mean, because when we were in the room as well, it was like 80% people that you knew.
Yeah, friends and family.
Right? And then it was like 3 new people that got bagged on all night.
Yeah.
I loved it. That was amazing.
How is it for musicians? Like I see musicians are very comfortable if friends and family are around them. Like rappers literally have their girlfriends like making out with them on stage. I can't imagine that doing as a comic.
Oh yeah. No, the thing is with music, it's very different because it's also practiced to the point where there's not that, like, obviously being a great performer is about reading the room, connecting with the audience. If you're feeling a bit, however you're feeling, that they should translate to some degree so that it's real, so that it's authentic. You don't just get up and do the exact same thing. Although the core product is essentially the same, right? You're performing it to the best of your ability every time, unless you're Bob Dylan and you're coming up with a new arrangement on the spot every time because you don't give a fuck about anything.
Crazy.
Which is wild. Maybe we'll get there at some point, you know. And the form of it starts being less significant and just the message is the most, but that's a whole tangent. It gets to a point where if you are not dedicated to making it authentic every time you perform, you can just get smashed and get on stage and do the same thing every night, bro, and people will have fun, because if you're smashed, you'll be able to get hype. And then you'll be able to get the whole room hype, you know?
Yeah.
But realistically, it's about balance and like connecting with them. Or at least this year, that's what it's been for me. Because it's one of those moments where you just want to be so present that nothing else matters. You know, similarly to when you're on a racetrack, it's like time to perform. It's time for everything that you've worked on to come to fruition, in a sense, at least for the moment. But anyways, I've gone and asked my last question first, which is just genius about the 1 hour special, saving that till the end.
The best ones for the end. Huh?
Yeah.
I'm sorry if the podcast is getting boring for those who have made it to the 20th minute mark.
Don't apologize to them. They chose to come into the barbershop themselves.
Yeah. But is it boring? I don't know.
Not a chance. In any case, I do have a list of questions which, you don't mind, I will get into.
Let's do it.
Wanted to keep it light with the questions. My first question is, do you feel as though you are an intelligent individual?
Wow, this feels like an adult slam. Have you filled those?
No.
Was that a thing? Man, I think it was only a thing in North India. Slam books were this like really popular little books when we were all in teenagers, early teens, where we would give these slam books to people and they would have to fill it. They had all this like, who's your crush and what would you want to do when you're 25, when you're 50, all these personal questions.
And that sounds like a yearbook, like what?
Yeah, it's like a yearbook, but people would do it to find out whose crush is who.
Oh.
And then it used to like, people would steal other people's slam books to find
out their secrets.
Yeah.
It's a brilliant idea, putting your secrets in a book where people can read it.
Am I an intelligent individual? I am a curious individual who knows that he doesn't know too much. I have very recently started to accept that I don't know a lot. Which helps, you know, like otherwise this ego of, hey, how can I not know something? I'll figure it out on my own. Just kills you. You never end up figuring it out on your own. But just asking in that moment, it's even for small things, like if someone's talking about a show you've not heard of, earlier I would be like, I would just act like, yeah, I get it. You know, I would give a vague, oh yeah, it had a really cool, ironic arc. I would just say random shit like this. So everyone can agree to it. But now I'm like, hey, I've not seen it. Can you tell me? I'll write about it and probably see it someday.
Nice.
So I want to be intelligent. I want to be the guy who, like, I really want to be someone who can quote. I read a lot of Urdu poetry nowadays. It's a very hacky thing to do for a North Indian dude. You know, it's like...
Why is it hacky?
It's like how, you know, people judge city girls who post rupee core poetry. It's like same for North Indian dudes who read Urdu.
No, but Urdu poetry is beautiful, isn't it? I know jack about it, so I don't...
Yeah, I'm trying to read like a lot of Urdu poetry, so I don't just end up reading the famous Instagram Urdu poets. But I would like to be the guy who has like a poem for everything.
You and my explore feeds are very, very different. There's Instagram who are famous Urdu poets. God dang!
I'm trying to read it from books now.
Send me some links. Okay.
Yeah. But I want to be the guy, you know, like I was talking to my ex-girlfriend and I told her a sher, which was, me and my ex-girlfriend are trying to be friends after the breakup.
Okay.
Working out fine, but the sher goes something like, I'll translate it for you later, but the sher goes something like, हमारी दोस्ती इतनी अच्छी थी कि मोहब्बत इसका कुछ नहीं बिगाड़ पाई. What it means was that our friendship was so good that even love couldn't ruin it. Right?
Whoa.
Yeah, so...
Bro, that slaps in English too, man. Yeah. That's hard.
It slaps harder in Urdu, Hindi, whatever that was.
Yeah, that.
And she was like so elated by it. And I want to be that guy who can just throw in a quote from somewhere or an analogy from somewhere in a conversation, elevate the conversation. Just be intelligent for entertainment's sake.
Exactly. I used to always wonder how people got to that, but I think as you get older, there's just so much random cultural shit that just seeps into the crevices of your brain that you can call it. Like, it's not something people practice. Jeremy Clarkson always has some random reference about like pop culture or rock. And you'd be like, this guy's the David Bowie of something. It would probably be a lot more obscure than that. That was super basic what I just tried to do. But like, I used to always wonder. But the reason I ask about your intelligence, right? It was a ruse about the light questions, by the way. I don't know if you figured that out yet.
I figured.
You figured it out, eh? A couple syllables in. Master trickster, Bedford. The reason I ask is, and the reason I asked about whether you feel like it, is because as far as I'm concerned, I see you as an intelligent individual. And also, I feel like the general perception in our circles is that you are. Which is why I wanted to ask, because I've always been kind of curious about what you thought about that whole thing. Because
it's nice to know that I've been lucky to find people who, despite of my lack of social skills, find me endearing and shower love upon me like that.
Dude, you've gotten so much better, man, socially.
Yeah, dude. I used to be so awkward. I could never hug people. I would do like an awkward side hug where I barely touched them.
Yeah, I used to ham it up in class too and really try and give you both arms.
Yeah, like a full-blown hug. Like
interlock my hands behind your back, you know?
Yeah.
Used to hate it.
I never used to like it. I would act like a zombie when someone would try doing that to me.
You just go limp.
Yeah. But like, especially with the people that we hang out with, it's such a supportive bunch. Like, I don't talk to them for a year. It's bad. I'm trying to make it better. But even if I don't talk to them for a year, whenever I meet them, it's like, what are you up to? It's so great. It's so supportive always.
Yeah.
It doesn't get to me because at my work, professionally, I'm constantly failing as well. And like, as I said, only recently I started taking failures as an opportunity to learn. Maybe, I don't know, this sounds like a LinkedIn post now. But honestly, I've tried to, like, earlier I used to take it on my ego that I can't be bad at something. I don't know where it comes from. But now it's like, okay, I want to be the best. So it comes from like a series of being very bad at something.
But that's super hard to accept, man.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like in that arc, I'm a couple steps behind you because it's still at the point where if someone's talking about some obscure nonsense, there's usually buzzwords associated with it, right?
Yeah.
In general culture, and like, it's very difficult to avoid those buzzwords, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, KSI said like a slur recently, right? Have you heard about this?
Yeah.
Right, okay, see, it's one of those things where you just kind of know about it. And like, someone brings this up, and I'm like, he's very mad. Horrible. How could he? Even if you don't know what he said and stuff.
Yeah.
There's just general, like, points that you can touch upon. Typically with stuff like that, I find it very easy to grasp because there's not a lot there to grasp. But when it gets to more dense political stuff, I'm just like, fascist bad. Extremely bad. I don't agree with anything they do. Horrible.
Center be good. Center be good.
No. That's not allowed either, by the way. Anymore.
Yeah.
It's
then you're an ignorant person.
No. You gotta be like,
nah, let's not say the words. Let's not say the words.
Let's not do that. I am not going to say that because even if it is in jest, people will not look upon it favorably.
And you're the one who has to edit it. So
that's true. And then to hear myself and feel the overwhelming guilt.
And then figure out a smart edit around it, it's tough.
Oh yeah.
Starting trouble.
I deal with it. But I'm glad I asked that because I was at the gym today coming up with questions and I was like, what do I really want to ask him? Yes, I can ask him like
I'm glad there's some structure to it. I was worried that it might get into like a free-flowing conversation, which my podcast is also about.
Yeah.
And then I know that it gets very taxing as a host to do that sometimes. Because the conversations dip, right? Not everyone is interesting all the time for an hour.
True.
So this is good that you have questions and that can guide the conversation.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, just appreciating a fellow host, man.
Yeah, thanks, man. You guys have been doing it for a minute. That's good. I'm glad. I did come up with them 3 hours ago, but I came up with them nonetheless.
Yes, you did.
So I was like, what do I really want to ask Neelaksh? I've known him for a long time. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna cut all the fluff and just ask him about things that people typically wouldn't ask their friends because it's like a borderline intrusive thought. It's that's reflexive. It's like deep in the core of you, but you don't want to ask because it might reflects something about you, some crap, you know what I mean?
No judgment zone though.
No, 100%. And jokes aside, yeah, I'm curious about this. This is a question I wanted to ask you. Because I feel like we are on either side of this spectrum at the moment. Because you have, over the last few years, you've built from every indication I can read, you've built a steady revenue stream. You have understood how to financially sort your life out, and you've been doing that for a long time. I know it may not have been as much as you're making now when we just got out of college, but you seem to have been on the up for a while, and you seem to be doing well, and that's something that I admire. And both of us consider ourselves artists. Both of us have put out our art into the world, so that puts us at a certain level. I know we're not famous yet, we're not millionaires off of our art, but it brings us to a certain point. Do you feel, considering your perspective and where you've been, and considering the fact that I have prioritized my art over most other things, to potentially to the detriment of my own financial ability at this point in my life, do you feel like pursuing art over stability is wiser, or do you feel like it's more wise to pursue stability over art, and do that first maybe before you begin indulging your creative side?
This is a very polarizing opinion, but I feel experiencing life is needed to be an artist. In the world we live in, money enables you to do that faster.
It's true.
Right? And this realization, I mean, I'm still super into just buying shit for the sake of buying shit. Going in a business class just for the sake, just being the only 20-year-old sitting with other. I want to be in those situations. I don't know where it comes from, but these deeply consumeristic desires of mine pushed me to make more money all the time.
Yeah.
And when you are in that capitalist mindset of optimizing for money and just learning how to make more from what you have, those things come into place automatically if that's what's driving you at some point of time, which it was. But retrospectively, I feel it's the Maslow's hierarchy thing, right? If you sort your basics out, art is still, you need free time, you need a stress-free mind. So just sorting money out gives me that weekend where I can just sit, order whatever I want to order, think. I don't have to spend my time and energy sorting things that should not require my time and energy. If I didn't if I had to go to Bombay and I didn't have a lot of money, then I'll have to be 12 hours in a bus and then staying in a hotel that I am not comfortable in. Those kind of things. It sounds very vanity and privileged, but I think I came from a place of, I can't ask my parents to pay for it, so I have to make it.
Right.
And where does that come from? This comes from doing other capitalist shit, taking up jobs, investing that money somewhere, and then making more out of it.
Yeah.
I still don't know a lot about money. I think I do the bare minimum. I don't let my money die through inflation or shit like that, but I still don't optimize on it a lot. I still optimize for, if today I make 100 rupees and I know that, I can spend all the 100 and get a great experience, I'll do that. I won't stop myself there and be let me just spend 40 and then 60 I'll save. I don't put those restrictions. If opportunity comes, I'll just spend it all.
Fair.
Because I know how to make it.
But the thing is, you've built yourself a foundation by which you can effectively begin saving and doing all of that stuff. And I should also, I can't preface it anymore because we've gotten into the meat of the matter, but I should be honest and say that the reason I've been able to prioritize art and stuff is because of my family having money and me not having to think about that. And I didn't have that when I was in college. I didn't have that particular drive to be I should never ask them and it had just become such an automatic thing for me to just assume that I have money, which I think may not have been the best. Maybe a bit of tough love would have taught me that same lesson. But it's something that I've admired about you because I feel like you had that initiative, and whenever I did ask you about anything related to this back in college, you were pretty quick to let me know that you just have an aversion to asking your family. And it's gotten to that point for me now.
Yeah.
Not out of spite, but out of the fact that I'm 24, I'm 25, and when the number came around, I was like, damn, bro, like I need to have my own, like, which is why it's on the up for me now. But if I'd stuck with the marketing thing and like it would have been cushy, money wise, and I would have like weaned myself off of my familial wealth a long time ago. And I also shouldn't use the word detriment when describing my own situation again because there's privilege involved. But
like
it just feels like we made very different decisions when it came to those key moments.
I think that aversion comes from knowing your parents too much. I think everyone reaches certain age up to 25. There comes a time when you get to know about your parents' policies and their gaps, how they are. As real, you grow up aspiring them, you grow up like idolizing them that they've figured their shit out. Whatever happens to me, I always have this backup of my parents. But when I moved out of home and some revelations happened and I realized some things about my parents, I realized that they are also humans. They have their fallacies. I can't depend on them completely.
Yeah.
And over a period of time, that just exponentially grows. It does not mean I don't like them, I don't love them. It just comes to a realization that every man for himself is the real case, is the truth. I think that happened to me in college when I came to Bangalore. It was a very different world for me, and that just kept growing. That aversion coming from this truth of me realizing I can just message my dad like I need 20,000 because I want an Air Jordan. I wanted one in college and I would work for it.
Right.
Or like if I wanted to go travel somewhere. Those were luxury things that I wanted to figure out for myself, and I think that just helped.
Right.
But that's where does the aversion come from for you?
To asking my parents or having my account connected with anything. The aversion comes from the fact that like I've desired long-term, something has switched in my head over the last year. This episode isn't about me, but I will quickly just say something's happened over the course of the past year by which I have begun to prioritize long-term satisfaction over momentary satisfaction. So yes, I can like take some money and buy like some shoes and stuff. I mean, that's not mine, that's my family's. And that's fine, but at the end of the day, deep down inside, I used to ignore this, I used to repress this voice. But there's a sense of self-respect that comes from addressing that voice and being like, okay, I am figuring out my finances. I'm putting a certain amount of it away. I am using a certain amount for socializing and fun. I'm using a certain amount to buy clothes with. I've begun part-time this year. I've started working again, while still prioritizing my art. Because I am in a position where the gigs have gotten good in terms of money and everything, but it's taken a while. If I'd weaned myself off of my parents' money, say a year and a half ago, I would have been in deep, deep shit. Because I wasn't getting paid enough from the gigs, I wasn't doing this part-time thing. But now it's gotten to a point where I need to respect myself. I need to be able to live with myself. I'm no longer spending every evening outside running away from myself. I'm taking care of a house and a car and I'm building a life, and I need to be able to respect myself now. That's where the aversion comes from. And it's not out of spite. I only have gratitude for how kind and understanding and nurturing my parents were about the whole thing. But that allowed me to not address the fact that I will need to be a man and sort things out, for maybe a little longer than my friends. So that's where the aversion comes from now. And also, deep down, I just want to be able to be generous. Because personality-wise, I would gladly pay for things for people that I really care about as a gesture of kindness. But the ability to be generous, that comes with having a certain amount of money.
Yeah.
So all of these things have put me in a new position. Initially, it was a big slice of humble pie because initially there was no part-time. Initially, the gig rates weren't as good, and it's like either you don't do anything, you just build and build, or you just keep taking money from your fam. And I was like, so it was a little while of that, but I'm glad it happened. It taught me a lot. It taught me plenty. But the reason I wanted to ask you that is because, it's been different for the two of us. And
for sure.
But I've always thought that was cool about you, man, because both of us were working. I obviously gave up those jobs. We were I'd say we were in a very similar position. I was doing multiple jobs. I was doing digital marketing. I had that cushy WeWork spot with that American company and everything. And you were doing stuff with Swiggy and then eventually Cred. And if I'd stuck with it, I feel like we might have been in a sort of similar position
Sure,
because
yeah.
they put me on like the fast track in the writing team because I don't know, I guess I was decent at it, but I think it would have taken me in a different direction. But I personally was afraid of not being able to put hours and hours into the music, which allowed me to create all these projects, which I would like to think of as a slow burn. You know, over time the legacy builds, and like I will be paid back for the work.
I think it takes a lot of courage to prioritize art. As I said, like I prioritize comfort a lot more than art.
Could be termed as wise though, right? Where's the line between courage and stupidity, and courage and naivete, and
I think
about that.
when you have your own house, when you have a car, and you're still able to pursue art, that's a smart thing, right?
Yeah.
Not doing anything after it is where it'll go into naivety.
Yeah.
But let's see where you go. I mean, you already have a podcast, so already on the right path.
Yes. The podcast is an indicator of great success.
Yes,
and
sir.
legacy.
Yes, sir.
Spoken like a true Borat. But okay, I don't need to go on another tangent. I do have other questions, but even the thing like going back to doing writing part time and stuff, it's just come out of a desire again, where it's just like I want to spend my time wisely. Like even if it isn't, like obviously I'm not going to be making music all day. Right?
Yeah.
There's moments of inspiration. There's practice time. There's exercises. There's all that stuff. But outside of that, there's still so much time which I used to previously just use to socialize and fuck around and waste money. Like essentially. Like there were months where it was ridiculous. I've spoken to you about this. We've discussed videos and everything in the past. It was ridiculous. And now it's at a point where I'm like thinking in 5-year chunks. I'm like, by the time I'm 30, what can I build? Like, what can I can check all my boxes if I truly am willing to work hard by the time I'm 30, which is cool. But anyway,
That's really cool.
yeah,
It's quite matured.
pretty weird.
For the listeners on the 40th mark, Adulting 101 with Micah.
Yes.
Micah Bedford. You know his full name is Micah Vidyasagar Bedford.
Yeah.
Another little droplet.
Another little nugget for the people that are stuck around, you know. Nugget of truth, a revelation. Actually, Ashir, Micah, Vidyasagar, Bedford. It's
Oh my god, it's a long one.
It's a lot of syllables. The task.
AMVB.
Yep. Now, this is something I wanted to ask.
It's a light one or another light one?
Another light one, of course, right? All of them have been light so far.
Financial planning, 1 hour special. Few light-hearted questions.
Absolutely. Are you dependent on the clique Are you dependent on the clique for a sense of like a foundation, or like having a group of people that you can be around? Like without that, do you feel like you'd be affected? Do you feel like you could go it solo, like what I'm doing, just an apartment on your own, majority of time on your own? Or do you feel like that's the fast track to being alone?
I don't know, man. I don't see myself. I want to live alone for a bit. Always had flatmates who are also artists and great friends. Living alone comes with its own challenges, and being with your own thoughts for so long and having your own schedule to your life. You can't just go up to someone's room and, distract yourself from bad thoughts. In that sense, yes, I am dependent on having, it could be like 4 days we don't talk, right? Or we just live our own lives, but I still have that comfort of going over.
That's so nice, man.
I think for those reasons, living alone is not a scene. But did you mean it more in an art community sense?
No, I meant it purely socially in terms of like mental health.
Yeah, like I'm not that dependent on people generally, but having, and I think this has only been in the last 3 years, right? Like before 3 years or 4 years, I could just completely live alone and be completely comfortable with it, sober alone, just be all by myself. But in the last 3-4 years, as I've gotten to know myself, I think I'm also someone who likes to, show gratitude and give back to people around me. I enjoy that, like doing things for people or being supportive of other people, having that group of people I really care about and love around me and express that to them.
Yeah.
And for those reasons, I think I enjoy being with people, and I don't see myself completely going solo for a bit.
I know that you know me well enough by this point to know that there are certain moments where I find myself just needing socialization, right? Because I'm on my own. If I go unchecked, right? If I don't make an effort to set up something, or I mean, people call fairly often, and I'm blessed with good friends, so it's not left entirely up to me. But if I decided to be a recluse, I could be on my own for weeks, man. Like
That's a great skill, dude. That's a great skill to have.
Yeah, it is.
I really think it is a. If you can just be with yourself without anyone, anything else, you are like you. I think after 5-6 hours of talking to yourself, you reach that cliffing point of interesting things, right? Where you come up with real insights and come up with
which is
what traveling does to you. You are so alone for so long.
It sort of, ironically, it smooths the surface of the pond so that you can actually see the reflection. You can see something interesting. You can withdraw something from this well of creativity. For me personally, I do need a degree of quietness. If things are chaotic, I find it difficult to access that part of myself. So I know exactly what you mean. But I find myself getting to a point, with regard to the previous question that I asked you, I find myself getting to a point where I don't need it anymore. Like as of this year, I've become comfortable enough with myself to just chill. But like, I want it. I'm like, okay, I've spent days inside. I've kept my routine up. It's been like good, healthy eating.
It's a reward. That's great.
It's like a reward, and then I love every minute of it because it feels earned. Like when I come to comedy shows every now and then, the last few times I've enjoyed every moment, and I haven't felt weighed down like I used to last year because I was always socially spent last year, which I never confronted. But now when I come, I'm like shit, dude. Like I'm actually excited to see my friends, you know, and see you guys. But I feel like it's a smart way to go, and you find a group of people that you can live with where there's enough space, physically, mentally, everything, and everyone is considerate enough to wait for a cue before they like just barge into your life. So it's like, yes, you can live your own life, but you have that sort of subconscious comfort of having people around, like just there somewhere.
That helps,
which is nice, which is cool. I feel like
I think I came to value it more in COVID. Like in COVID, I never had cringy, cheesy routines with friends. Every Saturday we'll talk or shit like this. But in COVID, I started making those with my friends over Zoom. We would watch concerts together, shit together. And I realized I value this so much just to be able to be around these people, and I care about them and their lives. So I like to think that's very core to my personality. Even when I am in a relationship, right? Like I like to be with people who, merge into this world and are friends with everyone else. And I like to. That's very core to me.
Yeah, you don't want to just be in like this weird echo chamber with this one other person.
Yeah,
you want to have balance.
Yes.
Be able to socialize together, not be freaked out about what your person might do in public and stuff.
Yeah.
That random little note came from maybe a little bit of personal history. But it's okay. We've all kicked glasses over at Kormangla Social and done a whole load of ketamine, right? It's normal.
All right.
I'm sorry. That definitely didn't come from any sort of actual personal experience. It's all
just
jokes.
all fiction. All fiction.
So, how far does one take it with partying, in your opinion? Where is the ideal balance, and where do you draw the line, my friend?
I draw the line early, pretty early, dude. I don't have a lot of social energy. I party for very selfish reasons. I only party when I want to really just let go of everything. I'm not a very social. When I'm partying, I'm very lonely. Like I would like to just stand by myself, drink or do whatever, and just dance. Like at gigs and all, I'm one of those guys who just stand and dance. Because if I'm partying,
dude, I get weirded out if I don't have like a clique at like some of these big gigs.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, people will see, and then it's gotten to the point now where they'll be like, oh, I know you from something, right?
Yeah.
You see the rapper just chilling in the corner on his own, just like finger guns on his own in the corner. It's like a bit.
I don't know. In Bangalore, that's why I don't enjoy partying in Bangalore, because everyone knows.
Oh, everyone knows everyone, man. Yeah.
And everywhere you go, you'll find someone. But I purposefully like book a flight to Bombay for a Bombay gig or Delhi for a Delhi gig.
Yeah.
I just go party by myself. I like to have friends around, but even
that's sick though.
In the group of friends I go out with, it's completely okay to just break away from the group,
whatever.
So, partying for me is not socializing.
I've understood that about you. I saw you at Boiler Room. We spoke for 2 minutes. You bought me a Jaeger shot and then you disappeared for the rest of the night. I was like, where is this guy gone?
It's not about, I don't enjoy socializing at parties.
Fair enough.
Socializing, I don't do a lot of. I don't socialize a lot. Maybe on Instagram, I socialize with people, text them a bit. At comedy shows, maybe. But other than that, it doesn't come naturally to me. There's no intent to the conversation. Just talking because I hope it might go somewhere. It just feels too. It doesn't feel genuine to me.
Fair enough. That's a good way to go, man. Like, to be honest, it's interesting. If my social quotient isn't like nice and full, if I haven't come to a party like nice and fresh, if I've been around people a lot that week before I come to one, I'd much rather have people around so that I can like say things into their ears so that everyone else thinks that I have friends. Otherwise, it's just like trying to come up with dance moves and stuff like that. And it can feel pretty awkward. I guess I'm just one of those people where I love it and I dance and I have a great time and I don't care when I've come with like a fairly full social quotient.
Okay.
But for you, it's just like in general, even so, you just want to...
I just want to be myself. I think I would love for the work to do the talking. Like if socializing means some professional growth from it, then I don't think me talking someone up nicely do anything to my career. My work should talk for itself. Truly believe in that.
True.
And partying, I only go if there's a musician I love playing. Like if it's a DJ I want to listen to, or a band I want to listen to, or a festival I want to go to. I don't just show up to any socials or any fucking disco party and just, or any other genres. But that's not my scene at all.
Was there someone on the lineup at Boiler that you wanted to see?
That day, Shuchi. I wanted to see Shuchi.
Okay.
Who else was playing that day? Completely forget.
Alina, some of the people.
Raka Flaka. No, Raka Flaka. Rishi CP was playing.
Right.
But I wanted to see mostly Shuchi. I had heard her previous Boiler Room set. Young Singh, I enjoyed watching.
Nice.
A Boiler Room discovery.
You do keep your ear to the ground. Like I've noticed that about you. You know about artists, even if they're not massive. Like if you like them, you will show up.
I love going to like gigs. I really regret I've not come to any of your gigs yet.
Have you not been to one of them?
I have been to them, but not the ones where you've actually started doing like flash warning shit and
stuff.
Yeah, I haven't. Like that Sanchez gig I couldn't come to.
Bro, we'll get you on the list for a good one, man. When I know it'll be a good one, because at this point I can tell the difference.
Yeah. That's a nice place to be in.
Yeah.
But I love going for music gigs, and I love going to gigs where the audience is such where they love the artist. Like one of my earliest gig memories is this is when I'm a teetotaler, complete teetotaler. I go to a Tazdar Junaid show in Hummingtree, Bangalore. And he's an artist, if you're a fan, you just love him. There is no mediocre Tazdar.
Right.
Like, if there is a Tazdar Junaid...
That's pretty sick, man.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. Yeah.
And dude, that audience had people from all demographics. It's Hummingtree, but like rich Bangalore people are there who would go for a Karsh Kale gig, maybe like those kind of people. Then there are like young couples with a baby around, like people my age, college kids, just everyone, 250 people.
Hummingtree was cool like that though.
It was really cool like that. And I saw like people cry around me just listening to his music. It was not shady at all. It was very nice and wholesome.
That is so
I
nice.
think I enjoy going to gigs where it's...
That's a statement, man, as an artist. Like, because the worst thing is, like, I've realized that the worst thing you can be as an artist is middle of the road. Like, just passing where it's just like, whatever.
If people hate you, it's still okay.
It's still better than just being some dude that's just there,
Yeah. They should not have an opinion.
This is true. Okay, so... Well, I asked you the last question earlier.
We are done. All right.
I believe we've reached the end of our discussion. Unless you have anything else you'd like to say.
I'd just like to congratulate you on starting this. I always wondered why musicians... I think comedians hack the algorithms. Like, Indian comedy scene started in 2011. And so many more comedians are making so much more money than all the musicians. Like,
right.
The top musicians in India are making way more money than the top comedians.
Are you sure?
Yeah, because royalties play a different...
Fair.
At like Arijit Singh level. Like the biggest musician in India is Arijit Singh, biggest comedian.
Those guys get enough streams for this royalties to actually count for money.
Yeah. But like comedians have figured out, okay, YouTube is where distribution comes. Distribution happens, I sell tickets. They have it to the core. I don't know why it's the case, because I think music is such an old industry.
Yeah.
The patterns are set, the templates are set that you have to go this route, a management is a must, and this and that. And you get jaded by so much information about the scene, whereas comedy was more like a startup where everything happened all at once. Geo came in and internet blew up and comedy videos started going big, 20 million views. Bro, at some one point of time, if you just search for stand-up comedy globally, right, on YouTube and filter it by views, it was all Indian stand-up videos. Like stand-up in India was the biggest thing globally.
No, at a certain point I realized like the Indian stand-up scene was making a serious impact. It's like those dudes know about us, man, like in the West and everything.
Dude, Indian comics, like Zakir Khan is filling out Royal Alberta, like selling it out. These guys do Beacon Theatre like it's nothing. They'll just go to New York, fill out Radio City Hall. And even for American comics, it takes 15 years to do that.
Yeah.
These guys just show up and just do Radio City and do like go to.
Wild.
Just go and do it.
That's sick though, man. I feel like that first big wave came around like nuclear time, unless I'm wrong.
Yeah.
It was around that time, right? Like the first big wave of like, obviously my
2015, 2014 for sure.
Right.
And like, so that's what I've always wondered about musicians, that, and some like in the West, like Lil Nas X or Mac DeMarco, or musicians who've just come out from YouTube. A lot of like bedroom pop artists have just come out YouTube. They've started rapping to it, and I think what you are doing with the podcast is a good thing to do just to solve for distribution, dude. Like, if people actually listen to it and you're articulate, they will really like you. They'll come for your shows.
You know what's crazy, man, is that I feel like a few people had a hand in me making the decision to actually do this podcast, and I feel like you guys were in that group. My brother-in-law told me when I was a teenager, like, that I was interesting enough as a person to have like a YouTube channel and to talk about random stuff. And at the time, no one was like doing reaction channels. So I was like, what am I gonna do? Like, I don't think I'm interesting enough. I was like a shy kid, so I was like, I don't know. But
My
like,
brother-in-law is a visionary, dude. He should manage Beast.
He's told me a lot of very wise things in very few words. He's that kind of a dude. But he told me that you guys have told me when I brought up my stage anxiety in the past, right? You were like, why don't you just do stand-up, right? Because it's stripped down. You don't have a backing track to save you if you're like awkward. You just have to be awkward and hope that people can connect, right? You just have to be yourself, which I think is amazing. And it used to terrify me, but I was like, it just got to a point where I was like, okay, the closest I can do to stand up consistently with a format that's easy to maintain in a realm that I still sort of understand while mix the audio and stuff and like package it a little bit was like podcasting. Especially after I got on with you guys, I was like, that was fun. I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
You know?
You should check out the 2 podcasts we've had with Micah. It's Yuck. YUCK. Sorry, I'm plugging in.
No, please. I want you to plug everything.
Those 2 podcasts are fun. We talk about like variety of things there as well. And today, there's a lot to talk about, dude. Cool. Thank you. But yeah, thanks for having me over, man.
Absolutely.
I'm, like, glad to be on the podcast.
Dude, you should get all the social handles in, man.
It's @Neelaksh Mathur everywhere. Just one of the perks of having a weird name.
My dude's got, he's part of Monochrome Gang. Gang means we're smarter than everyone else. So.
Oh, really?
You'll recognize his DP from the Monochrome intelligence oozing.
And I sit in that photo like I'm Socrates or something. I have my hand like this.
Yeah, like the thinking man.
Only person who thinks like that is the thinking. I've never seen someone actually think like the thinking.
No one does that. It would be odd.
You think like you look up, or you look dumb when you're thinking.
My eyes just go out of focus when I'm really thinking. Like I'll be looking at my laptop, but the distance perception will be like 200 meters away. Thank you guys. That was a pleasure having my boy on. And possibly the first of many guests. Bedford out.